Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 184, From Ghost to Ghost. The episode begins with Ash and the gang at a Pokemon Center in Urkatreat City, preparing for Ash's 4th gym battle as he was getting his Pokemon healed and looking up Gengar in his Pokedex for information so that he could be more prepared. However, the Pokedex unfortunately didn't have much information on Gengar. Ash complained about this, with Misty agreeing that the Pokedex was fucking useless, but Brock rebutted that Ash didn't need the Pokedex, as knowing that Morty was going to use Ghost Pokemon gave him an advantage enough, so now he would be able to plan to use Pokemon with an advantage against Ghost Pokemon. While Ash was thinking about which Pokemon to use, Nurse Joy then suddenly came out with Pikachu on her shoulder and all of Ash's Pokeballs in a tray, as she had just taken them out of the treatment room and reported to Ash that they were in perfect condition, due to them now being fully healed up. Ash thanked her, although Joy noticed that Ash's voice was a little shaky when he said this, so she asked what was wrong, with Ash revealing that he was about to go into his 4th Johto gym battle with Morty, adding that he's successfully beaten plenty of gyms before, but this one made him extremely nervous due to him never going up against a Ghost-type gym. With Misty adding that not only was Morty a Ghost-type user, but he had a powerful Gengar, which the Pokedex barely had any information on. Nurse Joy revealed that there had been plenty of failed attempts against Morty, insinuating that he was in fact very strong, but Nurse Joy also advised Ash that he had a secret weapon he could use against Morty, being his Noctowl, since it was a psychic type, and was specifically meant to be good against Ghosts with its Foresight attack. Ash and the gang realized that Nurse Joy was right when they all remembered Noctowl using Foresight on the Ghastly back in the burned tower to reveal them, and also stop them for that matter. Upon remembering this, Brock agreed with Nurse Joy's suggestion, stating that Noctowl could definitely be the key to win Ash the match. Surprisingly, he wasn't just agreeing with Nurse Joy because he had a crush on her. He actually thought this was a good idea. And since Brock thought it was a good idea, Ash thought it was a good idea as well. So he grabbed Noctowl's Pokeball from Nurse Joy's tray before anyone else's, and decided that he was going to use Noctowl. Meanwhile, at the Aquatique Gym, Morty was teaching a class of kids about Ghost Pokemon and their abilities, doing so by having his Ghastly battle against his Gengar. The Ghastly, of course, tried to gang up on the Gengar, since there was way more of them, but Morty just told it to use Confuse Ray, which confused all the Ghastly, causing them to fly around aimlessly. This leads Morty to reveal what he was trying to teach the kids with this, being that although Ghost Pokemon may not have a whole bunch of physical strength, like a fighting type for example, they had other abilities that could become an even more powerful weapon, such as making Pokemon confused and frightened, stating that interrupting a Pokemon's mental state would do more damage than simply attacking it long term. Morty's lecture is then interrupted by the referee of the gym battles, explaining that a trainer was here to challenge him. As if on cue, Ash and the gang show up. Ash immediately goes to greet Morty and challenge him to a battle yet again, when Brock then points out that it seems like they were interrupting something, leading Ash to shut the fuck up and begin to apologize. And he tells Morty that he would come back another time when he wasn't lecturing some students. Morty rebutted, though, that gym leaders were always supposed to be lecturing students if they weren't battling, revealing that it was another part of a gym leader's duty. So he's like, you know what, I'm either going to be battling or lecturing students, so we might as well just battle right now. As Morty recalled his Gengar and Ghastly, and told the other loose Gengar to go do whatever the fuck they wanted, as not all of them were officially his. The children receiving the lecture then jumped up with excitement, stating that if they weren't going to get lectured, they at least wanted to see this epic battle between Ash and Morty. Morty agrees, but adds that Ash would have to be okay with it as well, as he introduces all the kids to Ash, probably in an effort to make Ash become fond of them so he would say yes. But Ash didn't even need to be fond of them to say yes. He didn't fucking care who watched his battle. It would just be more people to show up in front of, so he obviously accepted the kids' request to watch the battle, much to the kids' amusement. Meanwhile, as for Team Rocket, they were currently up in the air in their Meowth balloon, with James still using the treasure detectors. He soon yells in excitement as the treasure detector starts beeping once again, informing Meowth that it was working again, leading Meowth to question if it even worked in the first place, if all it could find was goddamn bottle caps. This led James to get angry, and he only got even more angry when Jessie agreed with Meowth, stating that all the treasure detectors detected was junk, like goddamn bottle caps. James angrily protests that he was very proud to find all those bottle caps, stating how much he loved them, and explaining that he had been able to find a whole bunch of super rare bottle caps as he showed them a notebook full of rare bottle caps and their pictures, clarifying that if he didn't find these bottle caps, then he would have had to resort to going through the effort of stealing them from kids instead, and he didn't want to do that. Meowth and Jessie simply questioned what made these bottle caps so rare in the first place, with James refusing to elaborate, probably knowing that they weren't that rare after all. Instead, just going on to rant about his collection of bottle caps even more, much to Jessie and Meowth's annoyance. As Wobbuffet forcibly popped out of its Pokeball, and Jessie simply munched on a rice ball while James continued to rant about his collection, with Jessie trying to butt in that she didn't fucking care. Jessie got so annoyed by James that she proceeded to take it out on Wobbuffet as usual, demanding that he get the fuck back into its Pokeball, but Wobbuffet didn't oblige. Before Jessie could punish it though, the treasure detectors actually detected something. Jessie and James both eagerly look over the balloon to see what it was detecting, only to see the burned tower and the new tower down below, with James suggesting that there must be some old valuable treasure down in the towers. Jessie was going to rebuttal that it was probably just some useless-ass bottle caps again, but upon realizing that the tower had a lot of history to it in the town, she came to the conclusion that James could be right. Maybe there was actually some rare treasure in there. So they proceed to go land down by the towers, though on their way, Jessie almost decides to push Wobbuffet out of the balloon, as it still had not returned to its Pokeball like she asked. Upon landing, the treasure hunter takes James and Jessie and Meowth to the Echo City gym, and Jesse and James look inside the window, hoping to see the treasure, only to see Ash and Morty preparing for their gym battle. When they spot Pikachu with Ash, Team Rocket get excited, claiming that maybe they could steal 2 treasures today, referring to both the treasure that the item finder found and the Pikachu. As for Wobbuffet, Jesse had finally managed to get it recalled back into its Pokeball after threatening to toss it off the side of the balloon. However, as Team Rocket continued on to find the exact location of the treasure, Wobbuffet popped out yet again, blocking their path, causing Team Rocket to run into him, much to Jesse's annoyance. Meanwhile, back inside the gym, the battle was about to begin as the referee explained the rules. It would be a battle for the 4th Johto gym badge, the Fog badge, and it would be a 3-on-3 battle, just like almost every other gym battle. The referee then also added that the trainer was allowed to switch Pokemon, but the gym leader wasn't. After that exposition, Ash then sent out his Noctowl first, while Morty sent out Ghastly. Misty and Brock were surprised that Ash had decided to start out with Noctowl, warning him that if Noctowl got taken out first against a Ghastly, then it wouldn't have a chance to even battle against Gengar, Morty's strongest mon. Ash simply rebutted that he had to start out strong, and that he knew what he was doing. Ash starts off the battle by having Noctowl use Hypnosis, but Ghastly simply dodges by disappearing. Morty then tells it to use Confusion, and it then reappears in front of Noctowl, getting ready to use the attack. However, Noctowl got ready to tackle it instead. While this did stop Ghastly from using Confusion, it was certainly confusing Noctowl in some way, as it continued to dodge all of Noctowl's tackle attacks by disappearing, extremely fast, with Brock commenting on how fast it was, warning Ash. Ash then got the idea to have Noctowl use Foresight so it could reveal wherever Ghastly's location was whenever it disappeared. Brock commended this idea, stating that it would also make Noctowl's tackles more powerful, since it would get rid of Ghastly's immunity to normal type attacks. Morty overhears this, and rebuttals that just because physical normal attacks could now work, doesn't mean they would work, as he told Ghastly to simply continue dodging all of Noctowl's incoming tackles, and it did, even without having to disappear, purely due to its speed. Brock suggests that Ash try and keep Ghastly in one spot, so that it couldn't dodge anymore, and Ash decides to do this by trying to put Ghastly to sleep by using Hypnosis. However, Ghastly was able to avoid this, as Morty commanded it to close its eyes so the Hypnosis rays couldn't hit it. Noctowl was caught off guard by this, so Ghastly took the opportunity to fly away behind Noctowl and catch it off guard with a lick attack. Noctowl tried to tackle the Ghastly, but the lick had paralyzed it, causing it to stop flying and fall down to the ground. Noctowl was severely injured by this, so Ash recalled it into its ball before it actually fainted, so that he could utilize it in battle once again, with Brock commenting on how good of a strategy this was. Since now that Noctowl's Foresight had been utilized, Ash could use any Pokemon to hit it, and instead save Noctowl for when it was needed to use Foresight against a different Pokemon. Meanwhile, as for Team Rocket, James had continued his search for the treasure that was detected, while Meowth and Jessie had actually become immensely interested by the battle going on between Ash and Morty, and informed James that he was really missing an action-packed battle. James shouts angrily that he didn't care about the battle, and was too busy trying to find something, leading Jessie and Meowth to cover his mouth, telling him to shut the fuck up so that he wouldn't blow their location with his yelling. However, as the treasure finder proceeded to beep even louder, James managed to break through Jessie's hand, yelling even louder than before that he had actually managed to find some treasure. Jessie and Meowth instantly become excited by this and release James from their grasp so that he can follow the treasure detector, and he eventually leads Jessie and Meowth to a nearby building. So it turns out that the treasure was apparently in a building, not the towers themselves. Meanwhile, back during the actual gym battle itself, Ash had decided to send out Pikachu as his second Pokemon, and immediately used Quick Attack, which was actually able to hit the Ghastly, knocking it backwards. Ghastly looked severely tired by this attack, leading Brock to assume that it was about to be fully unable to battle, but Ghastly soon recovered, much to Ash and the gang's shock, as Morty commented how he had done his best to raise Ghastly extremely well so that it could respond to any attack. Ash doubted, however, that Ghastly could avoid Pikachu's strongest attack, being Thunderbolt. However, when Pikachu went to use Thunderbolt, Ghastly didn't even need to withstand it, as it simply managed to dodge, just like so many of the attacks before it. This catches Pikachu off guard, who thought that Ghastly was done dodging at this point, allowing Ghastly to use a Nightshade on Pikachu, which actually fully knocked it out, meaning that it couldn't battle again. Ash ran to it, hoping that it was only partially knocked out, but much to Ash's dismay, Pikachu wasn't back down for the count, so Ash thanked Pikachu for its help. Ash then recalled it, and told it to take a rest, although obviously not in its Pokeball. Morty then taunted Ash that he should just give up, since he lost one of his most powerful Pokemon and his most trusted partner, but Ash denied this, obviously, as he then sent out Cyndaquil. Meanwhile, Team Rocket had arrived in the building, where there was supposedly treasure, and there was in fact treasure, much to Jessie and James' happiness, as they found a whole bunch of valuable items, and taking as many as they could. However, Meowth wasn't satisfied with these items, stating that he wanted to go get Pikachu instead. Jessie rebuttals, though, that they couldn't steal Pikachu, even though they wanted to, since they were so broke, they couldn't afford any machines or special gimmicks that they usually use to try and capture Pikachu, stating that they needed to find these valuable items instead, so that they could sell them and make money to survive. Meowth initially protests to this, but then James finds that one of the valuable items was a coin like the one on Meowth's head, and once Meowth sees this, he instantly agrees that they should be finding valuables instead, as he wanted that goddamn coin. As he goes to grab it, he then spots several other coins, and debates which one that he should replace his current one with. Suddenly, though, a whole bunch of Ghastly appeared above Team Rocket, and proceeded to use a move on them of some kind, as Team Rocket reacted very scared. Meanwhile, back during the battle between Ash and Morty, Cyndaquil started things off with a flamethrower, but Ghastly was able to dodge and use Nightshade. However, Cyndaquil was also able to dodge due to moving so fast with its Quick Attack. Morty then got the idea to have Ghastly use Lick to paralyze Cyndaquil so it couldn't move as fast. However, Ash retorted by having Cyndaquil speed across Ghastly's tongue with Quick Attack and then tackle it, which knocked Ghastly out. Brock commended Ash on this out-of-the-box strategy, saying that he may have a chance if he continued to use them, as Morty recalled his Ghastly and sent out his Haunter as his second Pokemon. Ash cheered with happiness at his first victory, but Morty simply smiled, warning Ash not to get overconfident, stating his Haunter was not one to be fucked with. The battle then started with Ash commanding Cyndaquil to use Flamethrower, but Haunter just dodged it, by disappearing even faster than Ghastly did, which Brock points out. Haunter then used Mean Look, which appeared to only extinguish the flame on Cyndaquil's back, which was already bad enough, as that meant Cyndaquil couldn't use fire attacks. But Brock pointed out that Mean Look also had the effect that meant that Ash couldn't recall Cyndaquil mid-battle until it was knocked out. Misty countered that was cheating on Morty's part, as the challenger was supposed to always be able to switch out Pokemon, but Brock clarified that it was an official rule by the Pokemon League that stated that gym leaders could do this in order to test the trainers just to see if they were strong enough to survive under regular battle circumstances where you couldn't potentially recall your Pokemon during a battle. Knowing that Cyndaquil couldn't escape, Ash knew that he had to get Cyndaquil's flame back in order, and thankfully, Cyndaquil was able to reignite its flame and use a swift attack, which actually damaged the Haunter quite a bit, as Haunter wasn't expecting to have to dodge an attack. Haunter then tries to use Hypnosis, but Cyndaquil makes it so that Haunter couldn't see by using Smokescreen, canceling the Hypnosis. Haunter wasn't down for the count yet though, as it managed to locate Cyndaquil inside the smokescreen by using its long-ass hands, and pulled him out and tried to use Lick on it to paralyze it. This worked, meaning that Cyndaquil could not move nearly as fast, so Ash tried to recall it into its Pokeball, but of course, Mean Look wouldn't let him, so Haunter was able to knock Cyndaquil out by throwing him to the floor at full force with his big-ass hands. Ash was finally able to recall Cyndaquil into its Pokeball, but not under the best of circumstances, as now Ash was down to only his Noctowl, while Morty still had his Haunter and Gengar. Morty reminded Ash of this in an attempt to taunt him and distract him, but Ash wasn't going to fall for Morty's tricks. Meanwhile, back with Team Rocket, it was revealed that the move that the Ghastly had used on them was Hypnosis, which put Team Rocket under a spell that made them think that they were eating their favorite foods, although they definitely fucking weren't, which just made them look like idiots. The Ghastly are really enjoying making Team Rocket look like idiots, so they create the illusion of a full-on feast at this point on a table that was somewhat far away, leading Jesse and James to jog in place in an attempt to reach this table, not knowing that it wasn't in fact real, which made the Ghastly laugh immensely. As soon as Noctowl came out, back during the battle, Haunter immediately tried to disappear, since Noctowl hadn't used its Foresight on it yet. It only used Foresight on the Ghastly, remember? Well, this didn't matter though, as Ash simply ordered his Noctowl to use Foresight on the Haunter, revealing it anyways, allowing Noctowl to go in for a tackle attack, but Noctowl was forced to quit this tackle attack as Haunter tried to grab it with its hands, so Noctowl had to fly out of the way instead. Haunter then goes in for a Lick attack, sending both its tongue and its hands at Noctowl, but Noctowl merely flies up and dodges. Ash then tells Noctowl to go in for a Hypnosis, leading Morty to tell his Haunter to go in for a Confuse Ray, and both of the attacks collide at the same time, but the Confuse Ray ended up being strong enough to push through the Hypnosis, which caused a huge explosion. Ash and the gang thought the explosion could have caused both of the attacks to become rendered useless, but unfortunately, only the Hypnosis was rendered useless, as the confusion did break through and hit Noctowl, making it confused. Upon noticing that his Haunter had made Noctowl confused, Morty warned Ash that there was no way he would be able to win, but Ash simply ignored Morty's taunts and ordered Noctowl to fight through the confusion and still tackle, leading Morty to tell Haunter to use Nightshade to counter it. The tackle and Nightshade collide, just as the Confuse Ray and Hypnosis had before, but this time, the collision worked in Noctowl's favor, as it was now no longer confused, with Morty realizing the reasoning being that after Noctowl had crashed into Haunter so hard, it actually reversed the confusion. Essentially, it got a reverse concussion. Ash wasn't just blessed with this as a Deus Ex Machina moment though, as Noctowl's horns suddenly began to glow as well, signifying that they had learned a new move, which Brock reveals was likely confusion, as since Noctowl had just overcome a confusion, maybe it had learned how to use it on its own, and Ash checks this in his Pokedex and confirms that Noctowl could in fact learn confusion. So, Noctowl had learned a new move mid-battle. Fucking sick. Is that like the first time this has happened in the anime? Ash obviously decides to use this new move to his advantage, so when Morty tells Haunter to grab Noctowl with its hands, it's useless, as Noctowl simply just has to fire off one confusion from its horns, and it instantly knocks out Haunter. Morty comments on how lucky Ash was that Noctowl was able to learn a new move during a battle, stating that Noctowl must have been able to do so because it really wanted to win just as much as Ash, indicating that Noctowl and Ash had finally begun to go closer after realizing that they had a similar goal. Although Morty commented that despite Noctowl learning a new move and becoming closer with Ash, there was no way that Noctowl could win still, as he had his strongest Pokemon still up his sleeve, Gengar, who he obviously sent out, and instantly commanded him to use his most powerful attack, Shadow Ball, which hit Noctowl dead on, but fortunately, Noctowl wasn't down for the count. Ash knew that he had to do something that was of equal power to the powerful Shadow Ball, so he told Noctowl to use his new move yet again, Confusion. However, Gengar managed to disappear, as it hadn't had Foresight used on it yet, by using another Shadow Ball to collide with Confusion, causing an explosion, so Gengar was able to disappear in the confusion of the explosion. And the attack misses as a result. This led Ash to tell Noctowl to use Foresight, but Gengar simply uses Nightshade while it was still invisible, forcing Noctowl to have to use all of its energy to dodge all of the incoming attacks, which it couldn't prepare for efficiently, so that meant that it couldn't get off any Foresights because it was so focused on dodging the Nightshades. Misty questions how Gengar was able to attack so well while it was invisible, with Brock simply replying that it was because Gengar was simply more skilled than Haunter and Ghastly, further stating that the only way Ash could win was if he somehow got Noctowl to be able to use Foresight, so this led him to tell Ash to come up with a way for Noctowl to find Gengar despite it having disappeared. This thankfully leads Ash to come up with a strategy. This strategy was having Noctowl use confusion around the entire gym building. Since the attack was spread throughout the building, this meant that Gengar had to be hit at some point, and since it was, this revealed Gengar's location, leaving it susceptible to an attack once again. Before Noctowl attacks though, it makes sure to use Foresight to ensure that Gengar couldn't simply disappear yet again. Without being able to disappear or dodge, Morty decides to go back to using Shadow Ball, but Noctowl manages to go up to it and tackle it before it could get the Shadow Ball off, canceling out the Shadow Ball and smashing Gengar into a wall, taking it out fully, winning Ash the battle. Ash was somewhat shocked at the fact that he actually won, and immediately ran up to his Noctowl, congratulating it on a great job. Morty recalled Gengar into its Pokeball, and also congratulated Noctowl on a job well done, stating that it did way better than he was anticipating it to, especially dealing with his most powerful Pokemon. Morty then admits that a trainer as skilled as Ash may have actually seen Ho-Oh after all, and gives him the Fog Badge, his 4th gym badge, much to Ash's delight, as he celebrates. Ash and the gang then say their goodbyes to Morty as they continue on with their journey, now towards Ash's 5th gym badge. Meanwhile, the episode ends with one last scene from Team Rocket, who were now beelining out of the building that they were in, as the Ghastly's illusion had turned into the feast table that they had spotted, now trying to eat them. Despite Team Rocket being able to realize how fucking stupid and scary this was, enough to actually run away, they still didn't realize that the table wasn't even real, and it was all an illusion created by the Ghastly, who had just decided to do so, to do a little trolling. There was no secret motive or nothing.